Have you ever heard of the term lease option to buy? What about seller financing? Well, these are two common situations in real estate that you may want to know about. I'm Taylor Rens, a real estate attorney that services all of Wisconsin, and today I'm going to go over some of the pros and cons to know about lease options versus seller financing in real estate transactions. Let's start with lease option to buy. With a lease option, the tenant agrees to rent the property and gets an option to purchase it at a later date. The main benefit here is that you're not locked into the purchase. As a tenant, you have more flexibility than you would as an owner. You can choose to walk away without the obligation to buy. The pros of a lease option are clear. First, you have more flexibility. If life changes or you find a better place, you're not stuck. It's a temporary commitment. You also don't have the burden of maintaining the property or paying for repairs. Those responsibilities mostly remain with the landlord. And if things don't work out, it's a lot easier to simply move on. You can just find another house to rent. On the downside, there are a few limitations with lease options. For one, as a tenant, you typically can't make improvements or repairs to the property. This can be frustrating if you want to customize the house to your liking. And of course, just like with a traditional rental, you could be evicted if things go wrong. It's important to remember you're still under the rules of a lease, not ownership. On the other hand, as a seller, the downside is you still retain the responsibilities of a landlord. As a landlord, if something goes wrong, you may have to step in and fix it. Now let's look at seller financing. In a seller financing deal, the seller acts as the lender. The buyer makes payments directly to the seller, and the seller holds the deed to the property until the buyer fully pays off the agreed upon price. This arrangement comes with different benefits. For sellers, the pros are significant. First, you typically can ask for more in your purchase price due to the buyer not being able to qualify for a conventional loan from a bank. In addition, seller financing gives the buyer more skin in the game. The buyer is more invested because the buyer is fully responsible for maintenance and repairs, and he or she risks losing the upside of appreciation in the property's value if the buyer defaults. Another benefit is that if the buyer does default, the seller can take the property back through strict foreclosure, similar to in an eviction case. The remedy of strict foreclosure helps to mitigate your risk. From the buyer's perspective, the main benefit is the power of sale. If the buyer becomes unable to make payments or simply wants to move, he or she can simply sell the property to pay off the land contract. The ability to sell the property allows the buyer to capture the equity that accumulated from the down payment, the monthly payments, and through appreciation of the property's value. However, there are cons to seller financing that can't be ignored. For the buyer, if you can't make payments, the seller has the right to foreclose much faster than a traditional bank, leaving less time to sell the property or refinance the land contract. In addition, sellers typically require a higher interest rate than banks offer, and the loan term under land contracts is usually only 3 to 5 years. The shorter term means that if you as the buyer cannot refinance the property within a few years, then you will either have to sell the property or come up with all of the cash needed to make the balloon payment. From a seller's perspective, one downside is lack of control. The seller must rely on the buyer to adequately maintain and repair the property, and the seller cannot impose the same types of rules that are common in residential leases. So, whether you're a buyer or a seller, the choice between a lease option to buy and seller financing depends on your specific needs and goals. If you're involved in either of these types of real estate deals, it's important to understand the details and potential legal issues that can arise. If you need help navigating these situations, feel free to reach out. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more insights on real estate law. Thanks for watching, and we look forward to assisting you with your real estate needs.